A lot of people want to like try to leapfrog ChatGPT by like building more features onto their chatbot, and they completely miss the point. Who owns the chat layer has already been taken. That game is won.
What prompted you to build your own web browser?
I would say the origins of the idea was,
Is there a world in which Perplexity starts to think about maybe even building an operating system?
Yeah.
I know you tweeted out OS.ai.
I'm not interested in playing for number 2. I want to play for number 1.
What is being tracked with Comet? What are your plans with serving ads?
A human could just prompt the AI to say, ignore all the sponsored links.
A lot of people are worried about AI automating away their jobs.
More entrepreneurs need to emerge to create new jobs. They can be on Twitter, like LinkedIn, like learn stuff, but it's not enough.
Arvind, thank you for joining me.
So
I appreciate it.
Sure.
So we're going to talk about a bunch of things today. We're at the Perplexity office, by the way, which is excellent. Obviously, we need to talk about Comet. Comet was released just about a week and a half ago.
5 days of life.
5 days ago.
Yeah.
I switched. I've been using it. It's fantastic. But I first want to talk about what is the reason? What prompted you to build your own web browser?
I would say the origins of the idea was obviously that at the end, most of the user queries are going through the search box on a browser. This was way before we even thought about agents and any other thing. What's the entry point for most of the search queries in the world today? Probably approximately 15 billion of them. That's the Google query volume today. And I would say like a large percentage, probably 70 to 80% maybe. I don't even know what the number is, but a huge chunk of that traffic will going through the search box on Chrome or Safari, or Google is named.
The URL bar.
Yeah,
Directly.
it's called the Omni box. That's the terminology people use. There's even a historical point as to why Google even made the Google toolbar, which doesn't exist anymore because it's all integrated in one search bar. But back then, the browsers would have a URL box and then a Google toolbar that's below your bookmarks panel, where you can search on Google directly from any of the page you're on. Because there was a distinction that the URL bar should only be for navigation, so typing in like URLs and search. Now that distinction doesn't exist anymore. You can just type everything in one box. That's why it's called the Omni box.
Right.
And putting the Google toolbar, I think 5x Google's traffic or something like that. And that helped them make more ad revenue, and so they can just like pay people to put the Google toolbar on like their browsers, and like they can pay like other desktop software clients to like force and install the Google toolbar on the local browser. So even though they don't have to go pay Microsoft for it, like they can put it on IE. If somebody installs some other desktop client, they could just push the Google toolbar onto IE and get a lot of traffic. That was the extent to which the toolbar was important to Google. And interestingly, the person who worked on the toolbar was Sundar. And that was like a historic moment where like Microsoft was pushing an update to patch Internet Explorer so that they would just remove the Google toolbar and keep it as MSN or something. And so Google scrambled and went and did a deal with all the OEMs to like keep the older version of IE that wouldn't have this patch. And that was all done by Sundar. And like that's when, they decided, okay, you got to build your own browser. You cannot be under the control of Microsoft.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, this is like not like, Google never publicly said this happened, but I think a lot of ex-Google employees have documented this.
Yeah.
Similar incidents have happened to us, like when we did a Chrome extension to like if somebody goes and installs this one Chrome extension that we have that sets Perplexity as a default. It's happened to me myself, so I have no issues like saying this. After a Chrome update, like it would be gone.
Right.
It would just, and then I would go to the Chrome store to see what happened to this extension and say, oh, this extension was automatically uninstalled for this update because it might be taking your search data or something, random reasons. And then it wouldn't work the way we wanted. It would be janky. We had a sidebar, another extension that would have us on the sidebar every time. Not an explicit sidebar, but you can ask it questions about the page, and we wouldn't be able to do all sorts of things we wanted. So it was pretty clear at some point we needed our own client and control our own destiny.
Yeah.
But again, it's a massive distraction for a company like us that's supposed to nail the core product, and there's just a lot of people putting search into their own AIs. And so you got to improve your own like search service so that like you don't become irrelevant. And the browser is like its own committed multi-month effort. So why would you even work on it? So many people discourage me from working on it. But the moment for me was like, can you make this decision more from offense and defense rather than just defense? All the reasons I said so far is defense. Offense is when there are things you could only do on the browser that you cannot do anywhere else. And that's clearly where AI and search are headed next, which is agents. The first real agent, honestly, everybody shipped was deep research. Like it can go and research the web and do things. And then we did labs, which can actually build dashboards and websites and analytics and like mini web apps. So we already started to see the ability for these reasoning models to think hard for like 10 minutes and make something that would take you hours. Now imagine that power thrown for daily browsing tasks, pulling in context from your different tabs, like doing deep research over like all your like Slack or like Notion or the Google Docs and like answering your 100 emails, like going and auditing your calendar and moving around meetings. All the stuff that like a personal or executive assistant would do for you. If you're a small business owner, comparing the prices of an item and figuring out how to price your item, that could give you an arbitrage over someone who spends like 10 hours or like 5 hours doing this, or hiring a small team to just do this full time, or catering your marketing message based on what people comment on Reddit, kind of like trying to speak to them. These things are all going to take you a lot of time, and you cannot like perfectly crawl the web for doing all this reliably in the traditional approach that we had. And having the ability to go just open tabs and do research and like pull information that's on demand necessary, and then orchestrating all this into like outputs that the user can use to go control tabs and finish the work, finish the task. We felt like this can only be done if we entirely own the client and put in the AIs in the most elegant way possible. And so it became both a defensive and offensive reason to go work on the browser. So that's why we decided around the end of last year to begin working on this. And it took us like probably around 8 months to ship it.
It's kind of a crazy timeline, 8 months from zero to a launch.
Of course, I gotta admit, like I'm sure there's gonna be people on your comments saying, oh, like it's a Chromium fork. They didn't actually build it from scratch. Yes, it is a Chromium fork, but then everything's a Linux fork. Like you think about it, right? We're all standing on the shoulders of giants, and I deeply respect the work that Google did in open sourcing their Chromium library, and we are building on top of it, and where we hope to contribute to it too. We're not just going to be consumers here, and I hope, like actually in our DOJ like testimony, the DOJ for the Google trial, we did say that. I think OpenAI was pushing for buying Chrome from Google. We actually made an argument that Google shouldn't be broken up. The Chrome should continue to remain within Google. And one of the reasons we made that argument was because we felt like Google has been a good steward of like open source, and it would not make sense for OpenAI, which is the opposite of open source, to own Chromium, right? So and we think like we have to earn our right to like run Chromium or Chrome. Like serving a browser at scale of like 1 billion people is still like a huge monumental effort. So we have to build our way up to there. But so we definitely have built on top of Chromium. It definitely accelerated the development timelines. But the amount of like quality testing and like bug fixing you got to do for just the basic browsing functionality to work reliably and import your logins and like do all the basic tasks, and like it's still like a lot of work. And we not only did that, but we also made sure agents work to an extent where people are amazed by it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very proud of the release that happened like in 8 months. I wouldn't still say it's done. Like we need to make sure it works for 1 million people on a daily basis and then scale it from there. So there's just a lot of infrastructure work to do. But I'm very happy with the starting point we have now.
Yeah, I mean, like when I first installed it, first of all, I mentioned before we started recording, it was absolutely seamless. Got all of my bookmarks, got all of my authentications. But when I started using the agents, some of the differences I noticed to when I use like a hosted cloud-based agent environment where the environment is spun up in the cloud and You have to essentially start from scratch every time.
Yeah.
I'm already authenticated in, plus when I'm mid-task. If I'm doing something and then I say, and then I think, oh, this is a good time for my agent to take over. Those types of experiences, I don't think are really possible in a fully hosted version.
Exactly.
Is that one of
And I don't think anyone even wants a fully hosted version of your client on the server of someone else. That is extremely risky.
Why do you say that?
Like why would you want logged in versions of your clients on third-party apps on someone else's servers? It's a big security risk, and you have to like make sure they delete their cookies or the auth tokens. These are all things you don't have to worry about when you're using Comet because everything lives on your client. Basically, we don't need to have a logged in version of the Amazon or Uber or your Gmail or your Google Calendar, any of these services that you're using on a daily basis. We don't need to keep a logged in version of that on our servers, which is like a big distinction between how we operate and how OpenAI was trying to do it with Operator. Which tried to keep a server-side version of everything and try to do everything in a headless way. And required you to auth, and they would store the auth tokens or they would keep persistent cookies. And these are not like a great way to like keep the user, sure about the security. So the browser essentially lets you win on two ways. One is it gives you a hybrid of the client and server-side architecture. So all your logins can stay on the client side. All your third-party logged in versions of your services can stay on the client side. All that data lives on your client. We don't have to take any of it. Whenever you prompt our Comet agent or assistant to do some task for you, it'll only pull up relevant information for that one particular prompt from the open tabs on your browser, parse the screen, and complete the task. The intelligence for the task is taken from the server side, which is models that are like running on the cloud, because these models are so powerful that they cannot run locally today. And if you want to delete these queries, if you want to like go to Perplexity and delete these queries and you want to run it on incognito mode, which we support, we don't even like store these prompts or the intermediate chains of thought, none of these things. So everything remains secure. And that way we get to like truly help you, make sure all the information belongs to you, make sure we benefit from like frontier intelligence on the server, but only apply it on your data on demand basis, and never have to like keep you logged in on our service. This is like such a good setup compared to the OpenAI approach, which is trying to like keep you logged in on the servers. And the other thing I would say is the Omnibox. If you're trying to argue for like, hey, why would I need a browser? It's all like legacy product. Just give me a chat window and I'm going to talk to it and it's going to just do everything for me. I don't think people really understand that AI is not ready yet to completely do everything autonomously with 100% reliability. So you have to actually still do a lot of tasks. Like I still wouldn't trust Comet to accurately do financial accounting for Perplexity. It's like, we have like a lot of cash and I wouldn't trust it to go like log into Morgan Stanley, JPM. And there's a lot of, they have anyway, like pretty hard systems to log into that like these things cannot be done today. So are you just gonna like go to your browser flying to do these things? Like you want like one environment where you do all your work. And that's what the browser enables for you. And the Omnibox is where you're anyway typing most of your stuff. So if I get to help you directly there, or on any web page you're on, I get to be on your side to co-browse with you. That's very powerful. And I also get to complete tasks for you. So that's why we decided like it makes perfect sense. Like the other approach of locking you into a desktop app that's completely different UI and trying to build these streaming UIs as part of that. And like, the agent is pretty janky and it doesn't actually complete the task. That's what made people like lose hope with the operator.
The more native experience has worked well a lot. I mean, we can look at HTML5 versus native apps. There were a lot of decisions where kind of the native experience took over. I want to, like, everything you described is really de-platform risking Perplexity away from Google Chrome. And if you extrapolate out from there, is there a world in which Perplexity starts to think about maybe even building an operating system, which I know you tweeted out, OS.ai, and then maybe a device? Like what does your vision there look like?
We're not interested in building a device. I think that's a lot of commitment to. But basically, we don't have anyone in the company who has any like serious hardware expertise today.
Okay.
And I think it's also like a lack of like focus to go work on this today. The OS is a lot more achievable than I thought, especially after working on a browser. I would say you got to earn the right to work on things, right? We did a pretty good search product. We completely redefined search to the extent that every other chatbot copied us. We did the first ever multi-step reasoning search, even before models like O3 were there.
Yeah.
We hacked it together, and that kind of became the blueprint for how like you do like research agent style. They're all like streaming their chains of thought and like intermediate steps. The whole UX is built by Perplexity for that. So I think we got to a certain scale of usage, not ChatGPT level usage, but pretty much I would say in terms of retention, the second most used AI chatbot, like I would say Gemini has more users than us, but if you look at the mobile retention, it's pretty poor. So in terms of actually an app that's being used by people, especially for like information, Perplexity ranks consistently pretty high after ChatGPT. So we kind of earned our right to go build the next big thing. A lot of people want to like try to leapfrog ChatGPT by like building more features onto their chatbot, and they completely miss the point. That front end for like, who owns the chat layer has already been taken, that the game is won. OpenAI has like completely won that race. There's no point trying to like run away from the truth. And Google will obviously keep trying to like be number two by a far distance, but I'm not interested in playing for number two. I want to play for number one. And I think the workflow, the end-to-end agent workflow goes a layer above chat. The browser is a product that you use more than ChatGPT. It's an extremely sticky product. Like once you're there in, it takes a lot of effort for you to go back to another browser. And I feel like first time Google is vulnerable. They can't ship all these AI. Like by the way, there's a lot of inference spend. So even if they wanted to just destroy their business model, or just having people click on links, this is a lot of like spend for them to ship an agent that consumes a lot of like inference costs to that many billion users. And even we are not able to do that. Like, even currently Perplexity is only serving it to max users and invited people on the wait list. So it's going to take a while to scale this up. So it's a new product. So we are happy to like front run others here. It's also not a product that you can just keep shipping things fast. Everything needs time here. So you're committing to like some real pain. We're working on this product. And so we hope that'll be a good barrier to entry in terms of like, not just launching the first version of the client, but continual upgrades and continually shipping new things and committing to like a decade of work here.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
So you're obviously hyper competitive. I can see that. And then Google is going to continue to add AI features into the browser. OpenAI, I think, is rumored they're maybe launching a browser soon. How do you stay competitive? What differentiation do you see as you continue to evolve?
I mean, the argument against Google is the same thing that we've had for core Perplexity with Google, which is
economics.
If agents are the ones clicking on links, reading through them, and like making like actual purchase decisions for you, and actually doing the purchases for you, like why are like businesses spending that many billions a year on Google AdWords? It feels like a complete like failure of the promises you keep to your advertisers, which they're all believing they're getting real human clicks. And a human could just prompt the AI to say, hey, like, you know what, like when you're actually going to Google, ignore all the sponsored links and just click on the real ones, and read all the reviews on like these sites, and go to watch all these YouTube videos, read all the reviews, then click on the best one and buy that stuff for me. And I completely delegated everything to you. Just confirm with me before you buy. If I say this and it spends like 10 or 15 minutes doing this, it's able to stitch together this long horizon task and comes back to me and says, hey, like, yeah, this is what I found and this is what I think caters to you because this is what you like and care about, and I'm going to go ahead and buy, and like, do you approve it? And say, yeah, go ahead. So then why are the other people bidding on this AdWord spending so much money? It's completely pointless for them. They have to spend more on brand advertising more than like performance advertising.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that is the killer to Google AdWords business. And then why would they ship this at a crazy pace? If you actually noticed the Google I/O last year, this year, they announced Project Mariner. It's all like able to do some of these things, but not entirely. And it's like behind a $250 a month pay plan. Like it's okay for someone like Perplexity, which is like, you know, a up and coming startup, wasn't actually the $100 billion cash flow that Google has, to put things behind a $200 a month pay plan. But why is Google doing that? It's because they don't want to sabotage the business, right? They have so much to lose by giving access to like everybody to such a technology. The second thing obviously is the cost. Like inference cost is so high for this. So it benefits someone working up rather than someone already having the user base. Like you're not going to be able to ship to 3 billion people today. It takes a lot of effort. The third thing is like security risk. Like I'm not saying that we're gonna care a lot about security. We're gonna care a lot about privacy, but we are a startup. Like we're expected to challenge, right? People are okay with like a product that's going to work extremely well, but today it's not perfect yet. For Google, the security standards and the enterprise security standards that they have with like business uses of Chrome is so high,
Right.
that making any error here is going to be like 100x worse than cheese sticking to your pizza glue. You remember that error? That cost them so much. And you know, the first ever time they demoed Bard and it made a live error, the Google stock went down by 7% or something. And then they made more, like Gemini kept making more mistakes. A mistake on like one of your most important assets, the holy grails of your like search business, that's the Omnibox, and causing people to switch over to like Safari or like other browsers that don't want to actually necessarily ship AI that fast, is going to cost you a ton.
Yeah.
So I think they have to fight these things, and obviously bureaucracy, like someone else is building the AI, someone else is running the browser, someone else is building the ads, getting all of them to agree on like a launch plan. There's like several months of work here. We feel like that's a sufficient enough time window for us to go and like ship all these things and gather the initial core users and build a much better product.
Okay, so let's talk about the experience of agentic web browsing. When I first started using Comet, I started to see glimpses of what the future of web browsing could look like for humans. There seems to be almost like a decoupling between the human and the actual internet.
Yeah.
And now there's going to be this agent in the middle. Is that your intention? Is that the vision? Especially as the noise to signal ratio becomes worse with AI producing so much content. Maybe the only way for me to consume information from the internet is to have an agent in front of me. Is that your longer term vision?
I hope the web doesn't become that bad, that like most of the content is just AI junk and slop. It already feels like that to me today. Like whenever I post a tweet now on X, like a ton of responses are bots, and I keep marking them as like spam or bots, and it seems pretty hard to fight it. And so I guess like, yeah, definitely that would be a great use case for Comet, which is, oh, go read this article, or like go read this a bunch of tweets for me, filter all the ones that look like AI and spam, and just pull up all the signal and summarize it for me and give it to me in this sort of format I want to ingest, and host it on this local host client, and I just want to read it. So you can just build your own version of X that you want to read, your own version of LinkedIn you want to read. Like, yeah, like a ton of people sending you connection requests. Like you have no time to go through all that. You just say, okay, filter all like connection requests that have like at least one mutual. Like I don't want to accept a request from someone who I don't even.
That was actually a use case that I used Comet for, right?
Exactly. It's great.
LinkedIn,
right?
Yeah.
Or you host an event and you have like 200 people wanting to get in. You just say filter according to this criterion.
Right.
Or like go look them up on LinkedIn, see if they're from a reputable brand and these are the brands I want, and then just get me those people first and accept their requests.
Yeah.
And send them emails saying they got in. Like how many hours would this have taken you or someone in your team? They could take you some time, right? Boring tasks. Like
Absolutely.
Exactly. So that's the kind of thing we're gonna go for. And we hope to add the, like based on your wording, like the noise to signal ratio, if it's gonna go down over time because of AI. We hope that Comet is a way to fight it, which is everybody has their own personal AI to like go and like filter out the spam for them and just give them the signal.
Okay. I want to move on to the models that you're choosing to integrate into Perplexity. You support a bunch of models already. You recently posted on X, Kimi model's looking good on internal evals. We'll likely begin post-training on it pretty soon. So two things. How do you choose the models that you integrate with Perplexity? And then what does that kind of high-level post-training look like? How do you make a model really good for Perplexity?
Yeah, great question. So we have a benchmark internally we call it PPLX bench. And it's a benchmark we keep adding more prompts to. So anytime someone flags a bug on X or like reports directly from the product or Discord, Reddit, we have so many channels to gather bugs. We don't immediately go and like fix the bug. Like we don't go like X AI does this where they just go and change the prompt to fix bugs. What we instead do is we kind of like add it to our eval set. We try to like fix a bunch of bugs together. Either it could be a prompt change or it could be a post-training change, and then evaluate on the benchmark set again. And so the benchmark set's going to keep expanding to prompts that really matter for our product and our users. And that will give the ground truth signal essentially to any changes we do in terms of version controlling on the prompt or like what kind of post-training we do and how we run our evals to judge whether we did good post-training or not. So anytime there's a new model drop, like we don't have to just go by the academic benchmarks they release. We can actually see how it scores on our internal evals, which split across so many different verticals or use cases. And then once the model is pretty good, it's hard for any model provider to overfit to our benchmark because we don't actually have a public version of it.
Right.
They could have overfitted to academic ones by mining more prompts similar to the training set, even though the eval set is private, but they cannot mine it for Perplexity because it's real users, right? So I think that is helpful. And how we do the post-training is we sample a bunch of prompts that we're not doing well on today. Along with a bunch of prompts the model has to be good at just as a generic model. And we combine all of that together as a post-training set. We do both SFT and RLHF. RLHF, we use the GRPO algorithm that was designed by DeepSeek. Currently, all our post-training is done on DeepSeek models, which are state-of-the-art. I would say like Kimi is definitely going to challenge it. We also have like smaller fine-tunes of the Alibaba Queen models, and we use it for a lot of classifiers. So there's a lot of different models. It's not just a core chat model that we use. Sometimes when there's a prompt, you've got to classify if it needs your personal data or not, or if it needs your finance UI to be generated, if it needs a chart, if it needs a sport card, or if it's like a shopping query, whether should I render like structured cards for like different watches that you're asking. So there's like probably 20 different models that are running every time you ask a Perplexity query. And
but even if you're selecting a single model, there are other models running in the back.
The single model you select is the one that actually summarizes the response.
Okay.
And orchestrates the tool calls. That is what you're selecting. That's not going to be able to do all the work on its own. This is not like a difficult to do thing. Like everybody is doing this. OpenAI is doing this, I believe, because they also like every time you ask something on ChatGPT, they decide to search the web or not. Like that's just the classifier, right? I think like you gotta. This is why AI is going to be won by the person who has ability to context engineer well, pull together all the relevant context, and orchestrate all the relevant tools, and package it all into like a great user workflow.
Yeah.
That's the moat, I would say. The model is gonna definitely help. Like no question about that. Like the intelligence is doing a lot of the magic. Like without a model like O3 or Sonnet 4, it'll be very difficult to do a lot of the things we're doing. But I also expect whatever is the frontier today will be a commodity at least a year from now.
Let's talk about that a little bit because I'm wondering, do you see a need for Perplexity to compete with frontier model providers? Because it's just to get that extra 5% of intelligence, you're going to be spending billions of dollars. Like, what are your thoughts?
No, it's not even that. I could do that. A lot of people think we don't understand how to train models. That's not true. Like we certainly have the LLM expertise to do stuff here, but it's not about putting out one model one time. Mistral did that at one point, but nobody talks about their models today. Why is that? Because you have to keep on producing models. It's the journey that never ends. Like until like someone has achieved general intelligence, super intelligence, or by whatever means, like whatever it means, right? No one knows what it means, but let's say there's some crazy model that can do everything. Until someone achieves that and that gives them the recursive self-improvement loop and they get so far ahead of the rest, you have to stay in the rat race of leapfrogging everyone on that few leaderboards and benchmarks. And if you do not, then the best researchers will go work at the lab that does. Or you get poached by people who pay $100 million to get them.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
I mean, you got to keep building our clusters. You got to keep planning for like 2 years ahead. Build the clusters of hundreds of thousands of GPUs. Buy a lot of energy because these things cost a lot of energy. You have to build your own data centers. You have to plan for that. So you have to become that company entirely. You have to embrace it. It's not a research team in your company that goes and trains a model
To be all
and then puts out something and has like a one good week of celebration and then you become irrelevant in 6 months. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
And so that is why like it's very important to train models that really matter to your product and your users. For us, there are two things we care about now. One is like extremely good summarization with referencing and no hallucinations, accuracy, and format the answer really well. That's already by the sonar effort. We call those models the sonar.
Yeah.
Most of our queries go to that model actually. Even though people, if you don't actually pick a model, you just pick best, most of our queries are going to sonar. And now we want to train models that are really good at controlling the browser, like clicking on tabs. And
What model are you using for that?
today we don't yet have our own internal model for that. So we're using our own internal models for like packaging the context and like summarization and like, doing some transforms of the data. But the decisions on like what to do, the actual actions, that is such a valuable thing. And I expect like a model that can even run locally to be able to do all that pretty soon in future. We want to go and train those kind of models. And just like how we could train models that are very good for summarization, citations, and conversational search, I'm pretty confident we can take our expertise there and train models that are very good at controlling the browser tabs. And I feel like that'll be a very valuable model. It doesn't have to be extremely vague, but it needs to be general enough. It cannot be too narrow either. It needs to have the generality and the reasoning that all these great models have, which will be the base IQ of the model, but it needs to be specialized to just be fast enough to go control the browser.
Okay.
So whatever task you're giving the Comet now that takes 4 or 5 minutes, the only way we can make it like a minute fast, which would be true magic,
Yeah.
is to train our own models that are like small enough. Can be like we can write our own inference kernels to make it really fast.
Hosted locally on the user's computer.
Local would be extremely amazing. I don't even know if the MacBooks are powerful enough for it to let you do that.
But if it were possible, that would be
If
your
it's possible,
priority.
like there's like I think Microsoft is doing NPUs for some of their laptops and MacBooks having M1 chips. So I think if we can do that in a year from now, and it not only gives you the speed, it also gives you the privacy guarantees. Like you don't even have to worry about like what lives on the server side anymore. Everything can live on the client side.
Yeah.
And that's like truly special. So we kind of have to build towards that future. Today it's not possible. No one even has a 04 mini or 03 mini quality open source model. I think it's getting there. Like there are Kimi models like a trillion parameters, but it still cannot run locally. DeepSeek's like 670 billion or something. It still cannot run efficiently on local. I think you can put together two powerful MacBooks and host DeepSeek. But I want something that cannot drain your battery and like still run with the intelligence of something like 03 and be local.
Yeah. Still seems like we're pretty far out from having a model that is that capable of that size to be able to run locally, power efficient.
Yeah.
Right. It still feels a pretty decent.
But it's all going to happen. That's the thing. Why would you bet against this happening? Because, algorithmically, this technique called distillation works. It not only works for supervised learning, which is literally cloning the responses of another model. It also works for reinforcement learning, where you can make sure the policy, which is the one that makes the decisions, it provides the same like probabilistically is the same as the policy of a smarter model.
Yeah.
So why would you bet against this happening? Why would you bet against open source catching up? You shouldn't. I think the delta is going to be longer. Like it's no longer going to be like within 3 months there'll be an open source model. It's probably going to take 6 months, a year, and also like looks like Chinese labs are building these open source models today. Whoever is behind builds the open source models. That's why like Meta did open source too. Like if they get ahead, they're not going to open source either. And that's fine. Like we always think there'll be a dynamic where there'll be like 3 or 4 people who are
You don't think that Meta is committed to open source long term? I mean, obviously, if you're behind, the way to kind of scorched earth the market is to just put it out there.
I don't think anyone is like I would just going by whatever is practical, right?
Yeah.
There's the like sort of like the dogmatic view of open source, like and virtue signaling that you're going to do open source. But I feel like it's all a thing people do out of convenience, which is okay. Like I'm behind, and the only way for me to get attention of the people right now is to open source my model. And then China is doing the same thing too. Like they are behind. The only way for them to get the world's attention is to get open source their models, and they attract great talent as a result. And that helps them to leapfrog the best models eventually. And but meantime, also own the developer mindshare, which also contributes to your brand of your product. If a lot of developers are building on it, then your brand becomes way more powerful than what it is.
Right.
And so people go and use your app too. That's what happened to DeepSeek. It's been shown, right? So I feel like that's the argument for doing open source. That's more practical. Otherwise, why would someone spend $100 billion and give it away all for free for others to like use it and then build their own apps, right?
Right. Once they're ahead, the incentives are not quite there as much. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to charge licensing fee in some manner. Oh, if you have a certain number of users, you're not going to be able to use it.
Which they already do.
Whatever it is. Like I'm not clear if anyone is like truly committed to open source, but I feel like there'll always be one player who has the most to gain by open sourcing something that'll keep open sourcing stuff, and that would benefit like a application layer company like ours.
Yeah.
To take that and post train on all the data and make our thing like really good.
It's like whoever is most behind and also has the biggest cash reserves is the one that's going to be investing in open source and kind of pulling all of the prices of intelligence down to zero eventually, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So I want to talk about Comet and Perplexity with respect to privacy. So you were taken out of context. You mentioned with Comet tracking everything that users do on it and having that to serve really personalized ads. Add some clarity there. What is being tracked with Comet? What are your plans with serving ads?
That was an interview I did with the Technology Brothers podcast network, and they asked me a hypothetical question. Okay, everybody in AI is trying to make money out of subscriptions. Nobody seems to be trying ads. So what's like a world where ads can actually work in AI? And so I gave an answer to that, and they just took that one answer, which is a hypothetical scenario, and said, I want to do ads. Like, let me clearly say, like, I am actively fighting for a future where like we don't have to do ads. If everybody has to do ads, Google's always going to keep winning, right? Like if the new way to make money in AI is also going to be the same old scenario of just putting ads against like keywords or prompts, and they're going to win. They have all the ad network. It's basically a mafia. Ads is such a mafia industry that you don't even want to like try to fight the incumbent there.
Yeah.
And so we are trying to create a future where like we can truly deliver value through the agent that goes and does work for you. And you just pay the agent like how you would hire a person, and you pay a subscription fee or you pay a usage-based fee.
Like per task complete.
Yeah, per task completed, or like if it almost got your work done. We have all these ideas to like have a business model that's more based on outcomes or usage, along with a flat subscription fee for access to all these like, agents. Could be something like a retainer fee, right? And if we deliver the value to your life, which by saving you like hours and hours worth of like mundane work, I feel like that's a better model than creating ads. Sure, maybe the ARPU, the average revenue per user, is never going to match ads, and I don't care. Like even if we get to like 100 million users and have an ARPU that's $50 or like $100 per year, that's pretty big. Like $5 to $10 billion revenue in a year for Perplexity is amazing outcome from where I am today.
Yeah.
And it'll make us a multi-$100 billion company, and we can, build other businesses like APIs. We can provide search or like browsing infrastructure for other people to build first-party apps. We can do like cut out of transactions you make on Perplexity, where the agent goes and like buys something for you, and like both the vendor and the user gives us a cut out of the transaction, almost like a real estate agent sort of thing, where you pay both the buyer and seller agents. So that's all like going to be possible. And I'm happy with an outcome where we make tens of billions of revenue a year and never 200,
so bad.
never 200 billion a year in revenue like Google does. And I'm completely happy with that outcome.
But what about, there's a large portion of the population of the world that cannot afford to pay anything. And I think that's a big reason why Meta does advertising, Google does advertising, because they can support it.
I don't know if that's true. I used to think that's true. I don't know if it's true anymore. I give a lot of credit to OpenAI for showing the world that like you can get to 10 billion a year in revenue, which is most of it just coming from people paying $20 a month out of their pocket.
Yeah.
And I think more than 50% of the revenue is coming from outside the United States. And then even countries like India, there are people paying for tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Cursor, Claude Code especially is like gaining a lot of traction among people here. I've interviewed like engineering candidates who pay like $1,000 a month for Cursor. Sorry, Claude Code.
Yeah.
Because it actually gets them so many hours back, and they can go and spend time with their family and kids. Otherwise, they're just sitting and coding on tight deadlines. It doesn't give them so if you think your family time is worth that much money, like you're gonna pay for it, right?
That's a good way to frame it.
Yeah, like if you think getting time with your loved ones or like helping you take one more vacation a year, and then you do well in your job, you get promotions, and like it more than makes up for the investment you put in the AI tools. People are going to start thinking about AI as less like, oh, am I paying for Netflix or Spotify, and more like, do I value my life more to like actually have like easier access to money long term, but I'm going to invest to get that. Why are you like paying like financial consultants to like go invest? Let's say you make like some money, and you're going to pay someone to give you investment advice. Like you know how much you're paying them, or how much are you paying your real estate agent? How much are you paying the agent that helps you find an apartment for you? You're paying them a lot of money. You just don't think about it because that's how the society is structured.
Right.
This is new. It's not. There's no structural elements written down here. So it all feels new. So you're trying to like map it to existing mental models, and so you're immediately thinking about it as like a subscription service. Do you even think about like how often you order on Amazon a month? You don't, right? But you just buy the Prime plan. I don't think everybody watches Netflix that often, but you just buy the membership. People do like $300 for Equinox gyms here, and I don't even think they go to the gyms that often. So think about it, right? Like you just spend a lot. People actually spend a lot on a lot of things that you could buy a coffee machine at home and like not go to Starbucks.
So clearly no immediate plans for serving ads, maybe no long-term plans for serving ads. What about the tracking piece? What are you comfortable sharing about what is being tracked?
We're going to let people not send any data to our servers. It's impossible to not extract information on the client side that is needed for the prompt, right? We're not going to take your logins. We're not going to take your passwords, none of that. Your credit cards, everything stays on the client. Your entire like information that's on the third-party server on your client just stays there. Whatever, like if you say, give me my unread messages on Slack, whatever messages were unread, like for the model to summarize it, that goes into the server at one point, and then it just can be deleted by you if you want. Like you just say, hey, don't store any of this. Don't even store my prompt. It just gets we have a zero retention policy.
Yeah.
Even if you say, I don't even want you to have the prompt, just take it off. You would browse on incognito mode. It's done. You can just take it off for service. So our dream is to get the intelligence also to your client. It's algorithmically impossible today. The only way to do that is to ship like a inferior model, and then experience will be bad. It's not going to actually work.
Yeah. I suspect more and more of the intelligence is going to be shipped to edge devices. I hope it's kind of like a progressive thing. It's not going to happen overnight.
I hope so. I hope it has that whole like mainframes to personal computing sort of like trajectory.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't have to be all hoarded in like supercomputers and clusters, like giant clusters, but give the power in the hands of people. And I hope we contribute to that in like meaningful ways, both through software building and like writing specialized inference kernels, and trying to like do distillation and like make specialized models for like, controlling apps and browsers and things like that.
Okay. So you mentioned, if an engineer is using an agent and they're getting a lot of value out of it, maybe they can go take an extra vacation, spend more time with their family. But I think a lot of people are worried about AI automating away their jobs, really, which represents the identity of a lot of people, their work. You've had some pretty strong things to say about it. You mentioned the dystopian part is, unfortunately, in the short term, there's going to be a lot of labor displacement, Anthropic CEO in Greece. So like, talk about that a little bit. Like, do you see AI replacing tasks, roles, somewhere in between?
I mean, AI is definitely going to create this sort of like impact in society where people who really are at the frontier of using AIs are going to be way more employable than people who are not. That's guaranteed to happen. The thing that everyone's missing out is not let's making it of the AI versus humans, but what really is happening is anytime there's a new piece of technology, it never progressed this fast.
Right.
So even if you go and tell people, hey, you gotta like start using AIs, you gotta learn how to use AIs, you gotta be more useful to your team by like being someone who can use AIs and be faster and more efficient. Human race has never been extremely fast at adapting. We've been very good at adaptation, but this is truly testing the limits in terms of how fast we can adapt,
Right.
especially with a piece of technology that's evolving every 3 months or 6 months. So it does take a toll on people, and maybe they just give up. Maybe there's not really like whatever educational materials you can build for people around like the current state-of-the-art models becomes irrelevant like 6 months from now.
And so it sounds like you believe in the kind of the already an old adage in this industry, people with AI will replace you, AI won't.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not something you can easily solve for by telling people, hey, go use AIs. I just think it's going to take a lot out of people to stay up to date.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, some people are going to lose jobs because maybe this is beyond their limits to lose this. I hope like, we can keep educating them and like share use cases. They can watch, YouTube videos like how you do. They can be on Twitter, like LinkedIn, like learn stuff. But it's not enough. Let me just admit it's not enough. More entrepreneurs need to emerge to create new jobs. Because every company is going to need fewer people. Either the other people who lose jobs end up starting companies themselves and make use of AIs, or they end up learning the AIs and contribute to new companies that need to hire some people. So and there's going to be a temporary phase where this displacement and shift all happens, and so during the phase you're going to see some people struggling, and there's no need to sugarcoat this. Like, I'm not saying the extreme scenario of what Dario is saying, where like as a society it's all like screwed up.
Yeah.
I'm also not saying the extreme utopian thing of like Sundar, where he's saying, I've seen new jobs getting created in the past, like YouTube creators. Like it's not the same thing. It's not like a new platform shift here. It's fundamentally taking cognitive skill and putting it in an API.
I interviewed Aaron Levy, the Box CEO, a few weeks ago, and he made the argument that as artificial intelligence continues to get better and people use it more, we won't actually need fewer people in companies. And he specifically referenced Box. He said, okay, if I have a team of folks that are incredibly productive using artificial intelligence, wouldn't they be the first ones that I would invest more in, grow out that team because of the hyper leverage that they're experiencing? What do you think about that?
I think it's a good long-term argument. I believe in. But the flaw in that argument is that it assumes there is always going to be a big supply of people who know how to use AIs. I'm just saying that as a society, we won't be that fast in adapting.
Yeah.
Mainly not because of our own limitations, but because of the speed at which the technology is progressing. Like it's progressing faster than our usual rate of adaptation. So it's going to need more out of us to stay up to date. Like, do you even know the difference between 04 and 03? Like, maybe you do because you're utilizing this. The average person doesn't even know. Most people are still stuck with GPT 4.0 on the default model.
Yeah.
And so now the browsing agents are going to come. Then at some point, like it's going to use your computer. It's going to fill up forms. Like there's obviously some form of labor that will not be needed, right? And I hope I hope people try their best. That's all I can say. Like I hope people try their best. Don't take it like lightly. Spend less time doom scrolling on Instagram. Spend more time using the AIs. Not because we want your usage, but simply because that's your way to like add value to the new society.
Arvind, thank you so much for talking to me. I appreciate it. This is great, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.